Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Help Is Here podcast. One of our missions, one of our main sort of aims is to help people see pornography addiction in a different light and see it as a real problem in somebody's life that they can completely solve and go beyond. We're not a big fan of the normalization and how this is now almost a part of culture where most guys are watching porn and the consequences aren't always talked about. A big thing that we do within our program is help people see the reality of being stuck in the addiction and the places that it can go. We're not completely anti-porn necessarily. I think instead it's more about seeing the reality of where addiction and the tolerance cycle can take people. So what we do is we write these remember letters, and it really helps us reflect back on the reality of being in the addiction. And this is a really, really good, powerful tool for anyone who wants to actually face this problem head on, see how much it's impacting their life. If you resonate with the remember letter that I'm about to read out, feel free to share in the comments, and I'm sure it's going to help another person out. So let's get right into it. This was submitted by someone who's followed our content for a little while. We haven't worked with them at all, but he wanted us to share this on the podcast, and I've decided to go ahead and do that. So hopefully it can help you out, the person who's shared this anonymously, and hopefully help some other people out as well who maybe feel quite alone right now, struggling with this issue. So let's get into it. I got addicted to porn when I was 11 or 12. I don't really remember. I'm bisexual, so the first porn I looked at was straight vanilla stuff, but that was a very brief period. I kind of right away figured out I was more into men, so I'd always watch gay porn exclusively with very rare exceptions. I don't think this is a porn-induced thing. I've had childhood memories of being attracted to guys as well. But I'm only pulling it out because I believe there's a shortage of gay guys coming clean about their porn addiction, and it's much more normalised in the community than with what I've seen among straight men. Anyway, at first, as a child of course, you have no clue about addiction and whatnot. It's just like any other YouTube video or recreational content. I first realised it was something of an addiction when I first tried to abstain around when I was 14. Wasn't successful at all, but I didn't care. I still didn't know it had negative side effects. Was just assuming it became a normal habit I just liked too much. After that, for a few years, I continued using porn every day, mostly multiple times a day. Without me realising, it was constantly making me feel restless, drained, fogged, and was affecting my attention span. Due to this and other factors, I slowly got deeply depressed and started using porn more than ever while I was bedrotting. At this point, I was aware of the existence of NoFap, but thought it was some 4chan bullshit similar to SR or Red Pill. But one day I said to myself, this isn't even pleasant at all anymore, and you're still doing it multiple times a day. Let's just at least take a break to see what changes. I couldn't keep my goal of abstaining for a while, as I had my first relapse ever in a few days. That was when I finally went down the NoFap rabbit hole, and everything got so much worse in the months that followed. In addition to all the mental issues I was already dealing with, now I had this constant cycle of regret and relapses on top. Each relapse felt so agonizing, to the point where I had a panic attack once, and would have fainted if it wasn't for my mom being home. Despite my drastically deteriorating condition, nothing came up in physical tests because the problem was mental. On top of other issues, porn had planted a ruthless bully inside my head that made me believe I was a lustful monster, devoid of any willpower and self-control, one who would inevitably get worse and go down darker stuff, ultimately, unavoidably, ruining his life. With each relapse, the story was reinforced. The longer the cycle went, the more powerless I felt to my addiction, and bullied myself almost to death for it. At one point, I had obsessive thoughts about developing desires I don't have right now, and how that would totally ruin my life. I don't want to get too graphic, but I would punish myself for the possibility of developing more depraved kinks, and it simply made me believe I had to put an end to my life before it got that worse. I was so disgusted by the thought of turning into a worse pervert and just didn't want to see where my future led at all. My porn addiction made me so severely depressed and anxious that even my family started seeing through it, and Mom would tell me I had a blank stare. When I was abstaining, it was agonizing as well. I would have multiple anxiety attacks every day about relapsing, and that completely took away any peace of mind I wanted to have by quitting. So I just relapsed like 12 hours in every time. I would isolate in my bed the whole day, and if I had to get out, I wouldn't ever speak a word and would just freeze on the spot. All this mostly because I couldn't quit porn. I discovered your method when I was researching on one of the kinks I feared developing, and watched most of your content in the coming days. You told that there was a reality of freedom beyond this, and it somehow felt way more convincing than any other method. Even though I still am in the addiction, my periods of abstinence have drastically improved thanks to your videos for a while. That minimised the problem in my head because now I could say, stay away if I wanted, and was on depression meds, so was less negative in general. When I let it loose, it got worse than before. I started talking to people on Reddit and would sext often, sometimes sending nudes that I would come to regret. I even sometimes went into Omegle, like 18 plus match sites, and jerked off with other guys 2 or 3 times. This part is honestly the only one I still struggle to tell anyone because it's just worse to me than all the others. I'll be honest, I'm currently stuck in this phase, and I'm writing this letter to force myself to see everything that porn cost me back to back in one place. I hope I can get better. I know I can with enough effort and the right mindset. I hope to actually get in the program one day if you're still here in a few years. You can read this on the podcast and would really love it if you did. Thanks. Whew. Yeah, so there's a lot there. I get it. I think for anyone struggling with porn addiction, you can end up developing a really strong compulsion to engage in behaviours that don't necessarily align with the person you want to be, and behaviours that you may feel shame around afterwards. I've engaged in similar behaviours to this guy in the past, not necessarily jerking off with other men, but similar sort of things. Being on Omegle, especially around the age of maybe like 16, 17 myself, and doing things on there with women on that site. So yeah, I mean, it gets really dark pretty quick, to be honest with you. And I just hope that other people can hear how much of an addiction this really is, because there's so much shame around the problem. People think it's to do with like sexual desires, but from reading that, it's so clear to see that this is like a psychological problem going on. And this guy's not alone. Like, there's literally millions of people just like him struggling with this issue. And it can be a really good step to like write down how this problem's actually impacting your life and like reflect on it all. So hopefully it can inspire you to do the same and write it out. If you'd like to send it to me, feel free, you can do that, and I'll be happy to share it on the podcast if I feel like it would help other people. And yeah, let us know in the comments if you resonate with anything in this Remember letter. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.